Hi, my name is Sam, and I'm with Chasing the Apex. We're going to go to an event that happens every first Saturday of the month, and it's called Easy. And there used to be a shop that would buy Porsches and disassemble and sell the parts. But with the price of Porsches, it pretty much put Easy out of business, but it was time for the owner to retire. He's a great guy. The people love Easy, and so we meet up there, and we'll probably see 100 Porsches today, even with the drizzle. And it's just a fun event. There's coffee and donuts and fresh fruit, and people bring things out of their trees, and it's just a great gathering. I've been many, many times, and I've never met anyone that wasn't just super pleasure.
Are they going to allow an Italian car there? Or am I going to?
Oh yes, it's not just Porsches. You'll get a friend of mine bought a Pantera recently.
Oh wow!
A 72. They also have a 911 hot rod. They're great friends. But you'll see other exotics there, but not very many. It's mainly Porsche.
I don't know. At this point, I'm having a rough time with my little girl this morning. She decided, well, it's raining, so not only are the windshield wipers not going to work, your defroster's not going to work.
Yeah.
And because I'm Italian and it's raining and I have no business being out here. Would you? Okay. So Sam, go ahead and tell me about the Porsche. You chose Porsche as a brand, and in my mind, Porsche owners are like cultists. You know what I mean? They must own a Porsche, but that doesn't mean they don't appreciate other brands. Unlike Corvette owners, and I'm a former Corvette owner who they can't appreciate anything because if it's not a Corvette, it doesn't exist. Why did you choose Porsche?
My first 5 cars were VWs. Even restored a 53 and won VW Nationals with. In college, I drove a 59 panel van. Mm-hmm. In my 30s, I had a couple of 914s. I loved them. And in my about 58, I started wanting to have Porsches again. So I started with some 914s, and I'm half German. So I'm German, English, and I decided that it was time to have fun again.
That's what I'm talking about. So when we talk about that, right, and we talk about this specific car has a really neat story. So you were telling me that story earlier. So essentially you were taking the 914 to a well-known tuner and builder, Easy, right, in Emeryville. Can you tell that story?
Well, 914s, there's not very many people that work on them anymore, and I was introduced to Bill Eason of Eason Auto Works, and he worked on my 914s, and the goal on my little track car was I wanted to be able to go to Seattle with a 914 and drive it every weekend.
Seattle, from California.
From California to go get it
Porsche.
In a classic Porsche.
Okay.
And go get a fish at Pike's Market. So that was the goal. So Bill knew that any work we did on the car, he found anything to do it top shelf. And we were doing another project with building a 914-6, and I decided I wanted to change gears and get a 911, my dream car. It was a kid. Really, as a kid, did you think of owning a Nissan or a Mitsubishi?
No.
It's like I didn't. And so we found a 911S from the original owner. And so I bought it. And then we started selling my 914 projects. And Bill was very crucial in that.
Now, when you say 914 projects, you were talking race engines, multiple 914s.
Right.
And, and you went all in on this girl.
Right. I wanted to do a full restoration. I wanted to build a car that I could put 250,000 miles on before I couldn't drive a stick anymore.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's the difference between, when we're talking about drivers, and that's kind of what the channel is about. It's about drivers, not dudes that go to Starbucks and take their car out of the garage once a year.
I'm building this motor for a 74 911. It's a 2.7 liter displacement. Customer wants to have a very reliable, long-lived package, so we're not going really crazy on this build. Mostly stock with a few enhancements for reliability and longevity, not really much more performance. We use lightweight pistons. The pistons weigh 87 grams less than the factory pistons, so that's nice. We lighten up the rods a little bit, so we have a little bit less rotating mass.
I'm on a personal track every weekend.
Of course you are.
We do trips every weekend in the car. We just did 400 miles for New Year's up to Healdsburg on the coast and through the Napa Hills. And we have many roads that we like to just go and have a picnic on. But the car's driven hard, for me anyway, every weekend. I don't go get milk in this car.
Okay.
If it gets started, it's going for a trip.
That's what I'm talking about.
So when we started this project, the goal was to be able to take the car to New York for lunch by way of Montana. And so, well, if it's that season.
And I tell you, Stuttgart designs these things for that. I swear to God, they make tanks.
They did.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and Bill knew that, so anytime he touches any of my cars, he knows that I want top shelf and I want it done the best he can.
Okay, and so when we talk about that, I actually seen this being the engine being built, and I've met this girl before, and I remember I took some pictures of her when I was doing Bill in an earlier on video, and I thought, God, what a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Bill was working on this thing. He's like a mad scientist. He's pouring in stuff in beakers. And I'm like, I don't know what he's doing, but it looks rad, right? And he's like, no, this dude wants to drive this car, Jason. You know, he doesn't, this isn't to sit in the garage. He needs to drive it. It's being built very specifically for a dude that's going to take this on trips. And I thought that's pretty rad. And so I appreciate having you on. I appreciate being able to do the follow-up.
Thank you.
So how do you feel now that you've had her and she's been returned to her home? And I love the welcome home sign in the back, by the way.
It's got 960 miles on it. It's getting ready to go in for its first adjustment. We built a 2.7 up to a 2.8 performance engine. Changed everything in it. It's all balanced and blueprinted. It's an amazing running car. I can't wait to get a 3,000 miles on it so it can actually be beat.
Sure.
But the car has new Bilsteins, new tires, new interior. Some body work was done.
You can't tell. It literally looks like it came from the factory to your garage, you know, from 1974 in a time machine, Back to the Future style.
Right.
It looks brilliant.
So he's done a really wonderful job. I was in the car with the initial drives and the compression, decompression in the Berkeley Hills. And it's very linear. The car revs from 4 to 8, and the red line on these cars are only 6.5. So, you know, when we built the engine, we took over a pound off just in pistons. So the rotating mass has been greatly reduced. It's 9.5 compression, new headers. Everything is OE on the car. We didn't bear any cost when we've done this. We've pulled the factory AC out. We're putting in a Griffith AC kit so I can drive it in the summer comfortably. But yeah, it's a great pleasure.
It sounds like it. So now you're, as a car enthusiast, and I think all car enthusiasts, they kind of grow up with this fascination for driving or for the beauty of the vehicle, and you know, there's all these things that go in behind the scenes that people don't get to see. You know, there's obviously the tuners and the builders, you know, before they ever get to the driver, you know, and sometimes the modern car enthusiast scene is very different. Can you tell me what you like and dislike about the modern car enthusiast scene?
Well, I've driven a couple of new Porsches. A GT4 was.
What was that like?
It was delightful, but I could have also just sort of been in my RAV4, except for the power that it had.
Okay.
It was very disconnected. What's nice about the early vintage Porsches, they're very visceral. There's no power steering, no power brakes.
Right.
So you feel everything. The sound is different. The smells are different.
Sure.
And so most of the people that own the newer cars, they don't drive them.
Okay.
Like for 400 miles, we probably saw 12 Porsches and probably 10 of them were SUVs.
That's weird, right? To see, these exotic. Well, Porsche would have been considered an exotic when I was young, and now you're seeing exotic manufacturers move to these SUV models. It almost feels like they're moving away from the purity of driving and where they were founded.
Well, with the 911, if you look at a new 911 versus the early 911s or even this 74, the lines have stayed the same. They've just modified them up with technology. And as everyone knows, the technology of a Porsche comes right off the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's the market. The market wants SUVs, and people afford them and drive the SUVs. But the newer 911s and such, it's if you have a owner with a newer Porsche, you might get 1,000 miles in the annual, and on this, I'll easily hit 8,000 miles this year. It's the first Saturday in January. It's the easy gathering of Porsches. And we have everything from late 50s all the way to current. We're here with my 74 911S. And we come here to socialize, show off our toys, and enjoy coffee